never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another reason to breathe.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you're a wrestling fan, let me know what you thought about Monday Night Raw last night, because me personally, ever since Triple H took over the company, I have been extremely pleased with the direction they are going, and I again thought Raw was great last night. I am looking forward to the first of the year because we are, of course, in WrestleMania season. We'll have Royal Rumble in January, which leads right into WrestleMania, so I am excited. This is the best time of the year if you are a wrestling fan. Any thoughts on Raw last night, please feel free to let me know. Speaking of wrestling, don't forget, this upcoming weekend, Saturday night, I will be at 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia for SWA Wrestling. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Bell time will be 7 o'clock. And Sunday afternoon, doors open at 4 o'clock. Bell time will be 4:30 for UWF Wrestling at 6687 Highway 72 West, Colbert, Georgia. But today here on the channel, we're going to be talking some college football and some college basketball. But first, in case you have not heard, for all you baseball fans out there, Trey Turner signed a deal. It was official yesterday with the Philadelphia Phillies for 11 years for right at $300 million, which is just a skosh above $27 million a year. Of course, he played college baseball at NC State. Then he started out in the big leagues with the Nationals, and he left the Nationals and went to the Dodgers. He was great with the Dodgers, but rumor all year long was that he was an East Coast guy. He wanted to move back to the East Coast and play back on the East Coast. He now is playing with the Philadelphia Phillies, so the Phillies are going to be really, really good next year. If they could get about one more starting pitcher and two good arms in the bullpen, they might be the favorites to win the World Series going into the 2023 Major League Baseball season. But I know yesterday I did a video talking about all the transfer portal players, and in the video either yesterday or Sunday, I said there's right at 100 players that transfer every year, and I gave that number because I was talking about notable players that people know. Obviously, honestly, really, truly, there's probably 500 or more players that transfer now in the off season. But if the fifth string wide receiver for Colorado State transfers, nobody's going to know. If the fourth string linebacker for Washington transfers, nobody's going to know. So when I said 100, I was talking about notable players. I bring that up because I did a video yesterday where I mentioned 17 players. Today I'm going to talk about 14 or 15 more that officially announced they were transferring yesterday. And I'm sure if you're a college football fan, you probably read all this yesterday. But just in case you didn't, NC State quarterback Devin Leary announced he is transferring. That caught everybody by surprise because, for one, he was their starting quarterback. He didn't lose his job. He got injured and missed the rest of the season, but he has always had injury problems. But early rumor is he might go to Missouri because Missouri head coach used to be the offensive coordinator at NC State, and he helped recruit Devin Leary to NC State. So early rumor is he might go to Missouri. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but he was also draft eligible. But instead of going to the draft, he decided to come back and transfer. Also, Vanderbilt quarterback Mike Wright announced yesterday he's transferring, and that caught everybody by surprise because he was their starter and they overachieved according to most people. They were only picked to win 3 or 4 games this year, and they won 5, and most people gave the credit to Mike Wright. So he was their quarterback, and he was actually getting praise for being so good. But for whatever reason, as the season progressed, he did regress, and he actually got benched a couple of times late in the season, and maybe that bothered him because he is transferring. And Clemson quarterback DJU officially announced he is transferring. That rumor started on Sunday, but it was made official yesterday. I talked about it a couple of days ago. The rumor's actually been going around for about 3 weeks that he was going to transfer, but of course you can't officially announce it until December. And of course, when you do announce it, you can no longer play for the team you're currently on. But everybody started saying after last year he was going to transfer. So when he came back, I said, I'm not going to talk about it again until it's official. But I think after the game Saturday night, when Dabo said that Cade Klubnik would start the bowl game, I think DJ knew his time as a starter was up. And I wish him best wherever he goes. Early rumor is he's going to UCLA. He would fit in great with Chip Kelly's offense. And UCLA did just lose their 25th year starting quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So they do have a starting quarterback position open. And so does Oregon State because their quarterback just transferred. So wherever he goes, I'm sure it's going to be out west since he's a West Coast guy. He needs to be out west for whatever reason. The Clemson fans just never, ever welcomed him. I think it was a combination of the fact that he's from the West Coast, and for whatever reason, the East Coast and the West Coast still hate each other. So when you have players out east go west or players out west go east, most of the time the fans just don't welcome them. And the fact that in 2020, when Trevor Lawrence missed those 2 games, DJU had almost 800 passing yards in 2 games, and I think the fans thought if he can do that in 2 games, he can do that every game, even though that's not realistic, and that's what they expected, and they didn't get that. Calm with the fact that he's a quarterback, and when you're the quarterback, you get the blame for everything, and Clemson's offense has just been struggling for 2 years, so of course he's going to take blame for it. And Dabo has said numerous times that DJ wears his feelings on his shoulders. And I think he just felt the pressure from the fan base. He knew if he didn't perform, they were going to run him off, and he tried too hard. So I have no ill feelings towards him. I have no ill will towards him. I wish him the best wherever he goes. Also, Clemson running back Kobe Pace announced he is transferring. Not really surprised. Kobe Pace could actually start for most teams, but when you're third string running back behind Will Shipley and behind Phil Maffa, who are both better than you, and they're both coming back next year, about 5 or 6 carries a game is the most you're going to get, and I think Kobe Pace wants to be an every down back, and that's just not going to happen at Clemson. Oklahoma State quarterback Spencer Sanders announced he's transferring. He's been their starting quarterback for 4 years, and now he is transferring as a graduate transfer. Virginia cornerback Fentrell Cypress is transferring. South Carolina tight end Austin Stogner is transferring, and that one was shocking because Austin Stogner came to Columbia with Spencer Rattler, so they were kind of a package deal. So it's kind of strange that you leave Oklahoma to go to South Carolina and follow Spencer Rattler, and now you're transferring again. But the early report is that Spencer Rattler is going to declare for the NFL draft. We'll wait and see whether or not that is true. If he does, then it makes sense as to why Austin Stogner is transferring. He really didn't want to play for South Carolina. He just wanted to play with Spencer Rattler. But now Spencer Rattler doesn't declare, then Stogner is stuck. Oregon wide receiver Dante Thornton is transferring. Pittsburgh quarterback Kedon Slovis is transferring, and I mentioned in yesterday's video that Boston College quarterback Phil Jurkovec was transferring. He announced he's playing for Pittsburgh, so he will take the place of Kedon Slovis. Western Kentucky quarterback Austin Reed is transferring. Ole Miss quarterback Luke Altmaier is transferring. Arkansas quarterback Malik Hornsby is transferring. Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz is transferring. And Oregon linebacker Justin Flowe is transferring. And Justin Flowe was a 5-star linebacker coming out of high school. He had plenty of scholarship offers. He chose Oregon, so it's kind of a shock that he chose Oregon, went there and had a great year, and now he's decided to transfer. But this is the new normal in college football. One of my coworkers in passing yesterday said, "Have you saw the transfer portal?" And I said, "Yeah, but it's the new normal. It's the free agency now of college football." And Dabo Swinney doesn't use the portal, but I do think he will this year, only because if you look, DJ's transferring. Our 4th-string quarterback, Billy Wiles, announced he is transferring. And our 3rd-string quarterback, Hunter Johnson, was a senior, so he is gone. So now you have 3 quarterbacks on the roster, Cade Klubnik, and then you have backups, Helms and Perriman. And Helms and Perriman are only there because they're local kids, didn't get scholarship offers. They went to Clemson because they're from the area. They wanted to play there. So they're not good enough to start. So really, truly, the only quarterback you have on the roster that can start is Cade Klubnik. You can't go into a season with 1 quarterback who can play and 2 that are there basically for an emergency. So unless you're going to go out and sign some 5-star quarterback who's going to be ready in game 1, you're going to have to use the portal for a quarterback. And not only that, you need some more wide receivers. Now that Kobe Pace is transferring, you need some depth at running back. You need some depth at offensive lineman, and defensive end and defensive tackle need some depth bad because some players transferred, some are leaving for the draft, and some just graduated. So the defensive front needs depth bad. But Dabo has never liked to use the portal. This past year, he went and got Hunter Johnson that I just mentioned at quarterback. But that really didn't count because Hunter Johnson started his career at Clemson. He transferred because he was never as good as the quarterbacks in front of him. He went to Northwestern. He played a little bit. It didn't work out. He graduated. He called Dabo and said, "Can I come back?" Dabo said, "Yeah, sure." He came back as a 3rd-string quarterback. He was never, ever in line to be maybe the starting quarterback. He was just there. So he was actually originally a Clemson guy that just came back for his last year. But Dabo has never liked to use the portal because when players transfer, there's a reason. Whether it's the fact that they want to play more, they don't get to, so they leave. Maybe it's the fact that they want to win more, the team don't win, so they leave. Maybe it's the fact that they were only there for a certain coach and that coach is leaving or that coach got fired, so they're not happy, so they leave. But when you transfer for whatever reason or another, you're not happy. And Dabo doesn't like unhappy players in the clubhouse, in the locker room. He wants players that are all in. And if you're transferring, you're not happy. He doesn't want that vibe in the locker room. But this year, at a few positions, he really has no choice. So I do think at quarterback and wide receiver and defensive front, we will use the portal a little bit this offseason. And we've all seen the college football final top four and what the playoffs are going to look like. I've been saying since week 2 or week 3 that the two best teams in America were Ohio State and Georgia, and they would play for the national championship if they didn't play in the first round. Of course, they play in the first round, so whoever wins that game, I'm going to say wins the national championship because I've been saying that all season. So until I'm proven wrong, I'll keep saying that. But I would like to see TCU win it. I'm not a TCU fan by any means, but if my team can't win it, which obviously they can't, then I'll pull for the underdog. And Georgia's won championships, Michigan's won championships, Ohio State's won championships. TCU hasn't. So I want TCU to win it only because they're the underdog. I don't think they will, but I would love to see it, and I'll pull for them until they get eliminated, whether that's in the first round or the championship game. As long as they're in it, that's who I'm pulling for. But I do believe the winner of the Georgia-Ohio State game will win it all. And they announced the 4 finalists for the Heisman Trophy yesterday. If you have an opinion or a thought on who you think will win it, please feel free to let me know. And we got to talk about some college basketball because we have not talked about that in a couple of weeks. My Clemson Tigers are actually off to a 7-2 start this year in college basketball, which for Clemson, that's really, really good. They're also 1-0 in the ACC because Friday night they played Wake Forest and beat them 77-57. They're back in action on Wednesday night, but the weekly college basketball AP poll came out yesterday. In case you have not seen it, the Houston Cougars are the #1 team in college basketball right now, followed by Texas, Virginia, Purdue, and UConn. 6 through 10 is Kansas, Tennessee, Alabama, Arkansas, and Arizona. Auburn, number 11. Baylor, number 12. Maryland, number 13. Indiana, number 14. And Duke is number 15. 16 through 20 is Kentucky, Illinois, Gonzaga, UCLA, and the Cyclones of Iowa State. The Creighton Blue Jays, 21st. San Diego State, 22nd. Mississippi State, 23rd. TCU, 24th. And Ohio State rounds out the top 25. And North Carolina is no longer ranked because after a 5-0 start, they have lost 4 straight games. So they fell out of this week's AP top 25. We can focus on college basketball all this week and the majority of next week. And then, of course, next Friday night is the first bowl game of the 2022 college football season. Speaking of bowl games, I'm going to do a video later on this week talking about the bowl games. I'm not going to give a lot of details about every single bowl game, but I will try to mention the majority of the bowl games, at least the ones people are going to care about, and might give some details and thoughts along the way. But I am excited that the Orange Bowl this year is actually the Orange Bowl because it's called the Orange Bowl, and you have the real orange Clemson Tigers against that fake, washed-up, old Clemson uniform, new burnt orange of Tennessee. So I'm going to say that the Orange Bowl will be won by a team wearing orange. And the funny part about that game is both of those teams lost to South Carolina. So we have the Battle of the Orange in the Orange Bowl coming up on December the 30th. More on the bowl games coming up later on this week. Any early thoughts on any of the bowl games, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What lights up a soccer stadium? A soccer match. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.